All right, hey guys, Dr. Sean here. We're going to do a little fun thing this morning. I'm kind of down in my little hideaway here at home. I can think, all right? It's quiet. I get to think a little bit. I was working a little bit here this morning. And I had a nurse come into practice this week, and she was noting that she'd seen a change in several patients coming through the hospital recently where their physical body was altering itself. She was noticing that certain things, and she actually sent me an article on saggy hips and booty, right? That thing was dropping. And she said, what do you think about all this? And so I thought, well, I'll do a little thing for her. And so here we are. Now, what we're looking at here, we're looking at a classification of drugs, Ozempic and Wegovy, and all the other ones in that mix. What about them? They're all over the news. You can't miss them. Everybody and their brother is trying to lose weight right now. And they're like, oh my God, this is the fastest thing I can ever do because I have no responsibility. They don't make you change your diet. They don't make you learn anything. All you gotta do is go get your magic shot and boop, there you are. So let's look at this. I thought I'd go through some facts for you and share this with you. And the dark little secret comes at the end of this. So hang in there with me. Here we go. This classification of drugs is a diabetic drug. It was meant for diabetes, treating diabetes. And it's not too bad at curbing the symptoms of diabetes. Doesn't cure it in any way whatsoever. Doesn't get rid of why you're diabetic, but it at least manages it, like everything else in that industry, apparently. So as we go through this and we said, okay, so we're going to manage diabetes. We're going to use it off-label now for weight loss. Because someone figured out that, gosh, when you do this, it curbs their appetite. It suppresses the hormones in your stomach that tell you that you're now full. So it says, hey, I feel full. I haven't even eaten. My God, I don't even want to eat. And so you literally just quit eating. Now, there's some problems with this, and we're going to see that here in a moment. Another piece of this comes along. Now, we've got this super drug that's going across the planet, but it's expensive, right? In the United States, it's extremely expensive. We saw that Bernie Sanders, the senator, I think, from Vermont, was talking about, look, there's something wrong here. Yale went through, analyzed the drug, said it takes $5 per month to make this thing. So for you to get your month's supply, it takes $5. That's to package it. That's to make it, manufacture it. That's everything. It's $5. $6, they make a profit. $10, they double their expenses or their profit. What do they do on $100? They really double it. But in the United States, this thing's running anywhere from $1,200 to $1,500. So all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, so you tell me it costs $5 to make, but you're going to charge me $1,495 more to give it to me. Supply and demand, I guess. Now in Europe, ironically, it's somewhere between $90 and $150. I don't know, something to think about. But as we look at this a little deeper, then we start realizing, all right, so we've got a diabetic drug that suppresses my appetite, really makes me feel full. It interferes with hormone function. And anytime you interfere with hormone function, boy, you start running risks of things happening on the back end. And that's what we're going to talk about today. But I want to give you a few more things. I'll get out my font enhancers so I can see more clearly. Treat and Reduce Obesity Act. Have any of you heard of this? The Treat and Reduce Obesity Act. I think it's HR. It's like 4818. That's what they're pushing this under. It's a bill they're trying to put through to say, look, we've got to do something to help the obesity epidemic in our country. And whether it sounds good and wonderful, yes, let's try to help people. They're not sitting there saying, hey, let's teach people how to eat. Let's teach them the lifestyle change. Let's put money in for that. We're not doing that. We're saying, this will do it. And we're going to open up the windfall of cash to this industry. Now, what's that windfall? Well, they're expecting that it could be upwards of around $3 trillion a year. $3 trillion a year. So you look at that and think, boy, that's a hell of a lot of money. Where are we going to get the money from? Well, they're trying to figure out a way to take Medicare and Medicaid and expand its coverage for obesity-related things. Not for everything, just obesity-related things. So we're looking at this thing, okay, so you're going to take the money from the fund that we use for people who are disadvantaged and don't have the financial wherewithal to take care of themselves. You're going to take the money out of that program and dump it into this obesity stuff. Yeah. Well, who puts the money in there? We do. Taxes. You throw it in there. $3 trillion are going to be going into this thing. Now, I look and think, God, if I were owning a company and I had a chance at $3 trillion, what would I be doing? Well, ironically, this Scandinavian company, Novo Nordisk, who makes these things, they're now one of the top 5 lobbying groups in the United States. They're funding, they're in the top 5 among companies that pay lobbyists. And lobbyists, of course, are there to encourage our political system to do something. What's the something? Make sure Medicare, Medicaid cover this. Because 74% of you, according to statistics, are going to need it. So they're sitting there rolling the dice on this thing. And they're saying, man, we're going to hit this one. We're hitting big and we're betting all of it. All in. And they're spending large amounts of money. Now, their lobbying group, we've learned, 2/3 of their lobbyists that they're hiring are former government employees. Of what? Department of the Interior? Probably not. Are they the sanitation department? No. Maybe they're dealing with infrastructure and things like that. Probably not. I'll bet you if we dig a little deeper, we might find that the majority of these people are coming out of, I don't know, maybe FDA, maybe CDC, National Institute for Health. You think maybe they're hiring those people to influence our decision on whether we do this or don't do this? It's good for us. It's healthy. But is it really? So let's dig a little deeper. Now, here comes the secret. Now, we've all known about the main stuff. It's all over the media, right? The pancreatitis, the cancers, the kidney disease, the death. Now, blindness is popping in there that we're seeing all of a sudden. Big shock, right? What does diabetes do? It affects those same areas. Why would a drug that affects that not do the same thing? But we're going to go a little further. I'm going to share something with you. And this is what the nurse brought up to me. She said, and she gave me a great article. It was talking about this basically your hips and pelvic, your booty muscles, right? Just wasting away. And I thought, I've seen stuff like this. I'm flipping through Facebook. Gotta love that, right? And all of a sudden you see so-and-so's on it and they look all gaunt. They look like they've been in a concentration camp somewhere coming out of a World War II black and white documentary. And you see it just gaunt look in their face. And I'm seeing celebrity after celebrity have the same look. I think I saw a former president recently have this same look. And I'm looking at that thinking to myself, that's not right. So I start digging a little more. I look a little further and I start realizing, there's a little secret here. And I would have never caught this until I noticed a company that's trying to get into the market to compete with Wegovy and Ozempic. And their whole gimmick was that we don't cause the muscle wasting at the same rate they do. And then it clicked. I thought, holy crap, we're going to create the biggest problem you could ever conceive or imagine healthcare-wise in this country. And we're going to actually fund it ourselves. It's amazing to me. Because here's the deal, guys. Your body cell mass is your muscle. That's what your body uses to fuel and regulate its metabolism. The more muscle you have on the frame, the faster the metabolism runs. We just know that's basic 101 science, basic 101 biology. Now, when we look at that, we say, okay, so it's the muscle that drives this engine that keeps me alive, healthy, vibrant. But these classifications of drugs say, you're not going to get hungry. So it'll go after your fat. There's no problem with that. And that's why you're seeing this gaunt look, right? It's eating the fat pockets out of the face and stuff. It's eating them out of the breast tissue. They have a whole term now called Ozempic Face, Ozempic breast, Ozempic booty. All right, it's literally eating that fat out of there. But there's a darker secret than that, and this is what I'm about to share with you. It's not the fat that we have to worry about. It's what happens after that fat stores are gone. What's it going to eat now? You're not putting enough fuel in to carry the body on. It's going to turn to body muscle. I've written numerous weight loss programs over the last, decade and a half for different doctors' offices, my own office. I've done a dozen of these. And I've always used a unit in my practice called a BIA. It's a bioimpedance analysis. The bioimpedance measures to the T, all the way down to the cell. It measures how much body fat you actually have, not the crappy calipers and all that junk. It measures your body cell mass and your extracellular mass, the fluids and things that are outside your cells. And there's a ratio. The CDC tracked all this stuff for the company when it did it. So they've got millions and millions of data inputs on this thing. So we know what a human is supposed to be. So when you look at that, you think, all right, So when I was writing my weight loss programs, my main focus was always, no matter what program I created, they could not lose muscle. Because if you lose muscle, it's a junk, dangerous diet. And that's exactly what we're seeing now with this class of drugs. We're seeing muscle wasting. Because once the easy fat is gone, the fat floating around your bloodstream, etc., once that's out of the way, the body says, well, it's a hell of a lot easier to burn muscle and protein than it is to burn stored fat. So it starts going after that tissue. Think of what they call cachexia. It is the wasting you see in a cancer patient when they're advanced. They're sitting there and said, this was a 265-pound man. Now he's 135 pounds wasting away. Because literally cancer is a ravenous cell. And its appetite to eat far exceeds your other healthy cells of the body. And so when you run out of fuel, it's in line like pulling up to a gas pump. It's always out of gas, always out of gas. So if you've got your fuel coming in and all these little cells are lined up, all these little cancer cells are lined up, they end up eating all that fuel. So your good cell gets in line. He's got to wait an hour to get to the front just to get what he needs. And by the time he comes back around, next time it's 2 hours. It's like all these people trying to leave Florida in the hurricane and things. You know, if you didn't leave early enough, everyone's on the road, everyone's trying to get out. It's a jam, right? So when you look at these sort of things, you think, okay, but that's cancer, doc. That's not this thing. Yes, but what this thing is doing is when you take these little injections and it interferes with digestion, it shuts it all down. It forces the body to say, well, there's no fuel here, and I still got to run the heart. And I still have to run their lungs. And I still have to power their immune system. And God, I got to make that brain work. I need energy to do that. What do we have available? What's around us that we can use? Oh, there's that muscle tissue. And so your body starts to cannibalize itself. It literally, they call it catabolism. It starts to eat its own muscle tissue. Now here's the problem. If you start destroying your muscle tissue, your engine gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Your metabolism gets slower and slower and slower. So what happens when I stop taking the drug? Oh, I'll just eat again. Not on that little engine, you won't. You'll eat, but you won't burn it. And if you don't burn that fuel properly, all of a sudden you'll get a rebound effect. And the weight will skyrocket back up. Now, I'll give you an example of this. We saw this with The Biggest Loser, that television show that was out. Do you remember the reunion shows? Neither do I. They would starve these people, work them like dogs, give them all kinds of little appetite suppressants and this and that and so on. They'd lose a ton of weight till the show's over, and then boom, they all went back up. So you look at this and you think to yourself, so I'm literally in a position here where if I go down this road and I don't change my lifestyle habits and I don't make these altercations, if I go down this road, I'm literally going to eat my own muscle. And I'll feel great for a few years while I'm doing it till I can't. And all of a sudden it's going to go the other way. I think the detriment that we're going to see with this thing, we're seeing it right now physically. We're watching people's muscles, their facial structure get gaunt. We're watching the breast tissue fall and sag and fall apart. We're watching the backside fall and sag and fall apart as the body starts eating its muscle and you get that loose hanging skin. If you're a plastic surgeon, your next decade's going to be profound. For the rest of us, it could be catastrophic.